On today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Flip and Steele, we are taking a mini look at our one-game Monday DFS and betting board while also targeting some major waiver wire acquisitions to position you nicely down the stretch.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You heard the music and you know what time it is. It's time for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Flip and Steele. Welcome back. It is Monday. This is a big-time waiver wire special episode. Steele and I have a number of targets for you guys to be keeping an eye on to make sure that your roster is in tip-top shape for this stretch run. Monday is only a one-game board from a DFS and betting side of things, but you know we have you covered, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Steele and I really appreciate it. You know where you can find us. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure you are smashing the subscribe button, showing us some love. You know we really appreciate it. Steele, my brother, welcome back. Monday's episode. These Mondays down the stretch here are getting to be pivotal ones from a waiver wire acquisition standpoint. Some of these ads can be the difference down the stretch, so I'm really excited to hear who you have your eyes on today, my friend.
Hey, yeah, you're right. We're coming down the stretch for fantasy playoff leagues, heading into the playoffs very, very soon. So these are some of the players to keep an eye out down the stretch and can really help your team in the next couple of weeks. My first guy, he's on the blue line for the Anaheim Ducks, Cam Fowler. He's only owned at 40% on Yahoo, so he's still most likely available on your fantasy leagues. I like the way he's played this year. He's not an overly talented guy offensively, but he's got 6 goals, 26 assists on the season, 5 of those goals actually on the power play. So we know that he can get things done on special teams. And like I said, he doesn't have, the best stats all around. Like he doesn't get a ton of shots. He's not really a big guy. He doesn't throw the body around. And, the same thing with the blocks as well, but he's getting points. And I think that's what really matters right now. And he's done well in the last 5 games for the Anaheim Ducks. And looking at the way the standings are kind of shaping up right now, we already kind of know who's going to be in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Those 8 teams are pretty much solidified right now. It's just, a game of where you finish and if you get home ice advantage. But out in the Western Conference, there's 6 teams looking to fight for a wild card spot right now. And then 2 teams trying to hold on to third in their own division. So there's a bunch of teams fighting for playoff spots, fighting for position right now. And the Anaheim Ducks are one of them. And Cam Fowler has done a fantastic job on the blue line, on the power play to help his team, be the best that they can be and get the wins that they really need right now.
Most definitely. And before I jump into Fowler, I just want to say that this episode is brought to you by BetOnline.net. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. We know we got to get that in. Steele, you're highlighting Cam Fowler, and it's interesting because I think Fowler is one of those guys who's definitely going to be out there in a lot of leagues. We know Fowler's premium days are probably behind him, but that doesn't mean he can't still be effective, especially like you said, in the situation that the Ducks find themselves in. They're a pesky little team, and I don't think they're done as of yet. So you can probably expect some real quality hockey down the stretch from the Ducks, especially those veteran blue line guys that they have in Anaheim. Lindholm, Shattenkirk, these guys are pretty steady. And like you said, not going to jump off the page, but might provide you that little bit of a bolstering boost in terms of your offensive output.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Like coming down the stretch, this is when it really matters. If you're in a playoff spot in your fantasy league, if you're on the outside looking in, these are the type of players to keep an eye out because they can make a big difference. And just, the extra couple of points, if you add them for a couple of games during the week, can really set your team off and be really beneficial.
Exactly. That's exactly how I've been looking at these guys. And so the first guy that I'm looking at, Steele, actually, if you're good to jump off here, I'm looking at Anthony Mantha. I'm looking up front. I know you said you have a couple of goalies, a forward, a D-man. I have a D-man, a forward, and a goalie as well. And the forward I'm looking at is Anthony Mantha. And some of these players that I've selected, Steele, it might not be just based on their talent and what I like about them, but also where they're playing and who they're playing with. Anthony Mantha is getting some serious opportunity coming back from a shoulder surgery. You know, he was off for a long period of time. He's back. He's getting a shot on the second line with Backstrom and Oshie. So you can't deny that this guy is going to be in the mix to get a lot of assists, some power play time on the second unit, chipping in with some power play points and some power play goals. He's 27 years old. He's starting to look comfortable in that second line. And I think just by association, playing with guys like Backstrom and Oshie Steele, you really can't ignore the potential here for Anthony Mantha, only rostered in 10% of ESPN leagues. And I expect that number to go up, especially if, and maybe it's a big if, those three guys can stay healthy and play together.
Yeah, it's the same thing for Vrana on the Detroit Red Wings. Both Vrana and Mantha came back from injuries the last week and a half, I think.
Yep.
And both of these guys have already made a difference for their team, getting on the scoreboard, setting up their line mates. And you said with Anthony Mantha on that second line, there's a lot of opportunity for him to get back to the way we've seen him play in the past before his shoulder surgery.
Yep.
And we've seen in the past where coming back from surgeries and from injuries doesn't really help your game, and it takes a while to find your game and get back to that play style that you were playing before you got injured. And that's for where I'm heading with my second guy here. That's what happened with Anders Lee of the New York Islanders. We saw after that ACL injury last year, he came back this year and he started off absolutely terribly, but he's turned it around in the last week and a half, 2 weeks for the New York Islanders. He's got 340 fantasy points on the season.
Nice.
He's been great the last couple of games. 6 goals, 1 assist in his last 3 games. So he's really turning it around. He's up to 20 goals on the season as well. This is a guy that I actually traded for my own fantasy team because I thought he would have bounced back, significantly after this injury. And that wasn't the case. It took a while for him to get his feet going, find his game again. And that's what I've seen the last 2 weeks. He seems to be finding his groove, playing on that first, second line. And look, he's only owned at 34%. He's up 9% from last week, and his stock can go up a little bit more, coming down the stretch. I don't think the New York Islanders are going to make the playoffs at this point, but they've been playing really good hockey.
And we've talked about how the Islanders haven't really performed up to what we expected them to. I think Anders Lee, sure, the injury is one thing, but that's a guy, maybe one of the big reasons why he's just starting to really to click. And I think, Steele, you make a really good point of striking while the iron's hot with a guy like Anders Lee, who can be a very, very streaky goal scorer. He seems to be that kind of guy who goes a number of days without anything, and then bang, 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 he has 2, 3, 4 goal nights even sometimes. So I think some of these guys, right, like Anthony Mantha, Anders Lee, a couple of the other names we're going to mention, at least one of the ones I'm going to mention, these are some pretty big fantasy names that because of injury and poor play, you might be able to really jump on and capitalize. I mention it all the time, but down the stretch, adding one of these guys that have maybe not performed all year, Steele, and are now in these positions to really strike, I think could be a huge difference for a fantasy team.
And that's what, you and I are trying to do right here. We're trying to point out some of the guys under the radar who are, having or finding their game again on a little bit of a hot streak as well, who aren't owned, exponentially in fantasy leagues. We're looking at 50% under, usually around 30%, because that's where, you can really hit a gold mine right there and get some of the best productivity from these players. And, that's what we're finding. That's what we've done the last couple of Mondays. We're finding guys who have really stepped out in the last couple of weeks, and they're continuing that going to the weeks ahead.
And like you said, down the stretch, filling in for, Gabriel Landeskog out with a big knee injury. Don't know how long. That's knee surgery. That could be the rest of the year. Jack Campbell is on the shelf for a couple of weeks. Robin Leonard got hurt again. So filling in these holes down the stretch in your lineup can really be the difference between finishing first and second or finishing right out of the money. So that's something you definitely want to keep your eye on. And one other thing that you should keep your eye on, I want to talk about, it's Athletic Greens. It's a brand new product, and I'm starting to use it every single day. It's keeping me energized and healthy. What is it? One delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics, it starts your day right, just like me. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, and your immune system, helps you recover, it helps you focus, and it even helps you age with grace. I use it before the gym and after. It keeps me fired up, and I am loving it. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for 1,000,001 different pills and supplements to look out for. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily natural nutritional insurance. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Podcast your first listen every single day. Steele and I really appreciate it. Make sure you tune in on Monday, March 21st at 3:30 Eastern Time, and tune in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast live deadline reaction show with Steele and I. We are going to be covering all of the on-ice fantasy and betting analysis you need on trade deadline day. So make sure you tune in on March 21st at 3:30 Eastern Time. Whew! Steele, that was a mouthful, my brother.
That was.
Waiver Wire Monday. We're back at it. Only one game betting in DFS board. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but let's keep focusing on some of these waiver wire targets. We've mentioned it a few times. This could be the difference. This could be these players that are filling these holes we mentioned. You can't be going with holes in your lineup right now, Steele. So it's better to pick up something over nothing.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going with my goalie picks right now.
Nice.
We mentioned it before in the first segment. We're finding streaky players, people that are really, really hot right now and are under 50% owned in fantasy leagues. And that's what's going to, boost your team and, win the matchups every single week, finding these hidden gems in the rough. So for me, I'm looking at the Arizona Coyotes tandem in net right now, Karel Vejmelka and Scott Wedgwood. Vejmelka owned at 9%, Wedgwood at 5%. So these guys, most likely you're going to be able to pick up. And, it's obviously tough, going with goalies from the Arizona Coyotes. We've seen it over the last couple of years, even the last decade. It's been a struggle for players to play in that organization because they've been so bad for a long, long time. Yeah. But these goalies owned less than 10%, and the way that they're playing right now, the Arizona Coyotes are on a, they're kind of on a streak right now, playing a lot better than the last, 3-4 months and just in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Vejmelka, 333 fantasy points on the season. Wedgwood, 270 for himself. Both of these goalies are facing 35 plus shots every single night. So even if they're not winning the games, they're facing a ton of shots, and they've actually played really, really well this year. But like I mentioned, they're on a very bad team. So of course, there's going to be a ton of goals because they break down defensively. Yeah. Offensively, for the first 3 months, it was a struggle as well. So I like the way the Arizona Coyotes have played the last week. They've been scoring a ton of goals. They're getting a lot of help defensively now, and the goalies have been absolutely insane. Arizona, like I said, they've been great the last 3 weeks. Yeah. They have a 6-3 record in their last 9 games, and they beat teams, the Maple Leafs, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars. And so they're winning games right now, and I like the way their goalies have been playing.
Most definitely. And even on Saturday, I think their streak came to an end, but it was a close game. I had the Bruins on the puck line. Arizona lost, but it was a close game. It could have gone either way. The Bruins are another good team, a team in a dogfight for a playoff spot. And the Coyotes are obviously relishing this role of playing a little bit of a playoff spoiler for these teams that have legitimate playoff push aspirations. So it's kind of fun to see almost, because like you mentioned, this team has not had a lot to show for anything positive. So you have to keep your eye. This time of season, Steele, we can both agree, having an issue in your goalie roster is no fun. Trying to fill a hole anywhere else is better than trying to fill a goalie hole.
Yeah.
So like you said, right, your options are not going to always be the prettiest. So bear with me with my selection here. I'll talk about the goalie that I have my eye on. And actually, I think you'll back me up here because you've mentioned that you like this goalie's game. Anton Forsberg on the Ottawa Senators is only rostered in 10% of ESPN leagues. And I expect that number to go up in a hurry, especially because this upcoming week, the Ottawa Senators are one of 6 teams playing 4 games. So you can definitely count on at least 2 starts from Forsberg, if not 3, because he has been the starting goalie in Ottawa for the last number of weeks. And despite getting shelled by Chicago on Saturday, Forsberg has been solid for the Ottawa Senators. 13-11-2 this season with a very respectable .916 save percentage and .283 goals against. And I'll leave it at this, Steele. I really like Anton Forsberg, especially for a little, flash over these next week or two. The games that the Senators are playing in this week, I mentioned 4. Who are they playing, Steele? How about the Coyotes, the Blue Jackets, the Flyers, and the Canadiens? So those are 4 very advantageous situations for the Ottawa Senators this week, and I think Anton Forsberg is a great option, along with the Arizona goalies.
Yeah, I was also looking at Anton Forsberg, and I was going to choose him as well, but because of my DFS and big time bet selections, I couldn't go with Anton Forsberg for Monday night or for this week. But you mentioned it; he's been great this year, and like the Ottawa Senators, the Arizona Coyotes play 4 games this week, both of them being a back-to-back. So they play the Ottawa Senators on Monday or tonight, and they play the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday. So, and then as well on the weekend they play Saturday, Sunday. So expect both Wedgwood and Vejmelka to be, they're both going to get 2 starts. So that's why I chose this tandem for this upcoming week. They're both going to get 2 starts on this for this upcoming week. And their schedule, with the way they've been playing, it looks pretty solid moving forward. But yeah, you're right. Anton Forsberg has been very underrated this season. Like the Arizona Coyotes, it's tough to be a goalie for the Ottawa Senators right now. They've just been, it's been tough over the last couple of years.
And we know the Ottawa Senators don't hang their hat on playing a strong defensive game. So the fact that he still has a save percentage of .916 when they have these games where, like on Saturday, they got absolutely pumped by Chicago for 6, I think it's even more of an impressive number because we know that, just like you said, they've been involved in some really high-scoring games. But I think Forsberg is a great option. And I'll hit you with my last guy that I'm looking at, Steele, and let me know what you think about this. And this is a guy he's owned in a lot more because of his name, but it's Erik Karlsson. And he's only owned at 59% of ESPN leagues. And I know we're trying to give you guys, under the radar, 50% or less. But I couldn't not talk about a guy like Erik Karlsson who, before he got injured again in January with, he went down with forearm surgery, he was having an effective bounce back season. Before his injury, Steele, 26 points in 33 games and having a very nice bounce back season. Now that he's back, 2 games returned, and I've watched a little bit of those games. He seems to be gaining confidence with each passing period. He had 2 assists in his return. He is getting top power play time on a dirty top unit with Brent Burns, Thomas Hertl, Timo Meier, and Logan Couture. I think that this is a really advantageous situation for Erik Karlsson down the stretch if he continues to get top power play time, only owned at 60% Steele. I know his Norris days are behind him, but I think there is still a lot of offensive talent left in the tank. Just if we're talking about power play points, assists, shots, and those things that he does great, I think that you could definitely find some value in Erik Karlsson down the stretch here.
Yeah, if you're able to pick him up, you have to get him because you mentioned it before he went down to injury. He was playing great for the San Jose Sharks. So definitely keep an eye out for guys like that as well, who are, obviously owned over 50%, but potentially available for in your fantasy leagues.
Yep.
Let's jump to DFS selections real quick before we get over to big time bets. Like you mentioned, only 1 game on the schedule for Monday night, so it's going to be relatively quick. The Arizona Coyotes are playing the Ottawa Senators. And, I've already made my points with how the Senators and Coyotes are kind of on different spectrums right now. Coyotes are very streaky. Senators have been very inconsistent. And, the Senators have been playing very poor of late. Senators have they've won 2 games. They have 2 wins in their last 7 games, while the Arizona Coyotes, like I mentioned, they're 6-3 in their last 9. And I'm going with the Arizona Coyotes for my DFS selections as well as my picks. Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller have been on absolute fire.
Yes.
Keller, 14 points in 9 games. Schmaltz, 20 points in 9 games. Those guys have been, the backbone for the Arizona Coyotes the last 2 weeks. I'm also going to throw Lawson Krause in there. He's got 3 points in 3 games as well.
Yep.
And then whoever gets the start between Vejmelka and Wedgwood, that's who I'm going with in net.
I like it. Hey, you can't deny everything that we've said, and the Arizona Coyotes deserve some credit because clearly they're feeling it right now. The confidence is flowing through that group, and you can see it when they're going into a tough place to play like Boston. I know I mentioned it a second ago, but you can't deny that going into Boston on a Saturday and keeping it basically a tie game the whole way through and keeping it a 1-goal game. Sure, that's not a victory in the standings, but if you're the Arizona Coyotes, you got to be feeling pretty good about yourselves even after that loss.
Yeah, and those 3 losses, like I mentioned, all 3 of those losses were 1-goal games. Like they've been really, really great the last 2 weeks, but of course, this is probably going to come to an end, at some point during the season for the rest of the remainder of the season, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I think they have a very advantageous schedule upcoming starting Monday night against the Ottawa Senators. We're going to get to the big time bets soon. That's where I'm heading with my big time bets. But where you can place your bets is betonline.net. Football might be over this season, but basketball and hockey are in full steam for both pro and college hoops and puck. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. BetOnline, where the game starts. You also don't want to miss out on this product. It is delicious, and that is Built Bars. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. That gets me fired up every single day because I love me some chocolate. But it's also because of the protein, the calories. It contains 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein. And they're absolutely delicious. There's so many different flavors to choose from. Coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, minted brownie, and many more. In fact, Built Bar comes out with limited time flavors like ruby chocolate, lemon dipped cheesecake, and caramel almond delight. So you have to go to built.com often to see what's coming out, for those limited time options and what they release that's new. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. I'm going to say it one more time so it sticks in your memory. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe and the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. So thank you so much for all of the love out there. We appreciate it. With that being said, it's now time for big time bets, where the money's made, where we try to make you some money. Look, there's only one game on the schedule, so there's not a lot to choose from, but Flip and I have found some hidden gems here for our picks. Flip, I want to throw it over to you first. What is your first pick for the solo game Monday night?
Yeah, one game. And, I thought about getting real crazy and doing the single game triple dip again, but it felt like I was just forcing it. So I have 2 picks here. I know the first one you're probably not going to like because I have a feeling where you're going with your picks, but that's okay. I like the direction that this Ottawa Senators team is going. We've talked about it. We know the issues where they lie on this team on the blue line. And although Anton Forsberg is a solid backup option, he's not a bona fide number 1, although he's playing like he's trying to be. He's not there yet. But I'll say this. I loved the spot for the Ottawa Senators at home on Saturday against the Chicago Blackhawks, and they got embarrassed. They got pumped 6-3, and I can't help but feel that this is a bounce back spot for the Ottawa Senators. They're at home again. I think that as much as we talked up the Arizona Coyotes, they are also at the tail end of a long East Coast swing. And while I do expect this to be a close game, I got to go with the Ottawa Senators on the money line. I feel like this is going to be a side bet between us, but that's okay. This is hard when it's only one game, right?
It is.
I wanted to give you guys at least 2 picks that I was feeling, and I could back this one for sure, Steele. It's not my lock of the night because I do think this is almost like a coin flip game. Lean Ottawa, in my opinion, and I think they will respond in a big way. That's my first pick, and I will save my lock of the night for after I hear your support for the Arizona Coyotes coming up here. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I'm leaning the other direction here, Flip. I've got the Arizona Coyotes on the money line at plus 120. With the way you're right, they're on the tail end of a long Eastern Conference road trip. But again, They've been playing absolutely incredible
Yep.
on this road trip.
Yep.
So I'm taking the Coyotes on the money line at plus 120. My lock of the night is going to be Nick Schmaltz anytime assist. He's been on fire. 20, like I said, 20 points in 9 games, 9 assists in his last 4 games. So for me, Nick Schmaltz anytime assist is my lock of the night. I do have one more, but I'm sitting on the fence right now.
Ooh, he has one more and he's teasing it. I like it. I like it a lot. Look, I don't always throw out anytime goal scorer picks with just willy-nilliness. I have obviously gone with guys like Austin Matthews, which is not a bold selection. I'm going to go with a little bit more of a bold selection, but I like this spot for the captain on the Ottawa Senators to bounce back. Brady Tkachuk is an important player on this Ottawa Senators team. Aside from Drake Batherson, I would argue that he is their most important forward. He really is the energy on this team. And aside from Shabbat on the blue line, I would say the leader in that dressing room. Before getting shut out against the Blackhawks on Saturday, Tkachuk had scored in 3 straight games. He's having another solid season, 20 goals, 24 assists, I believe. Let me check that. 22 assists, my bad. 42 points. I like him to carry this team tonight in a bounce-back situation for the Sens. Brady Tkachuk, anytime goal scorer for my lock of the night, Steele.
I like that. Hey, you hit the Kyle Connor anytime goal last week, so you have done pretty well with the anytime goals.
Thank you.
I like the Brady Tkachuk as well. He's been a fantastic player for the Ottawa Senators. This is the pick I'm sitting on the fence for. I haven't really decided which way I want to go or if I will end up betting, but it's the over under in this game. It's sitting at 6 goals right now. Yeah. I know both of these teams are not great defensively, and the Arizona Coyotes have been, scoring a ton of goals of recently as well. But for this matchup going for Monday night, I haven't yet decided whether I want to go with the over or under. So, just tune for our picks coming out later, and we'll see which one I go with the over or under in this game.
It's a tough, honestly, overall, even if this was on, let's say, a 7-game board and this game was a part of it, it would be one of the harder ones to handicap, just because, honestly, these two teams are similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And as much as the Ottawa Senators probably have a little bit more talent up front, almost assuredly, when you have Drake Batherson in the mix and Josh Norris and all these guys, right now, it's a tough one to call, Steele. So, that might be a little bit for the listeners out there. Maybe, dial the bet back tonight and just take it easy until we can hit some of these bigger nights in the week. But I think there's some value to be found here, especially I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm not going to be betting on it. So I think you can definitely make some money DFS-wise here.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at right now. So my lock of the night, Nick Schmaltz, anytime assist. Flip, your lock of the night is anytime goal from Brady Tkachuk, correct?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. We're both taking a player prop for our lock of the night. Nick Schmaltz, anytime assist. Brady Tkachuk, anytime goal. Lock it in, pencil it in, put your money down, make some money for Monday night solo game. And thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. If you want more gambling advice on what you should pick every day, but for not just hockey, make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all podcast platforms, just like this podcast right here. So please hammer the subscribe, hammer the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the support and love out there. So thank you so much for that. And once you do hit the subscribe, you'll get the latest episodes of Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every day, Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So make sure you're subscribing and following. You'll get the latest episodes. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.